Okay, we are live. This is another installment of Talking Palettes. I'm your host, Daniel Crosier, and this time I thought I'd bring some old friends from Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, specifically the sculpting department. We've got with us the head of the sculpting department on the phone, Chuck Parson, along with Zach Smith, Bryan Andrews, and Dylan Boyd. So I'm going to bring it over to a different screen so we can see all their handsome faces. Oh my God, none of them have aged, only me. Chuck is with us in some kind of ethereal form on the phone. Guys, it's wonderful to see your faces and to hear your lovely voices. It's been ages, like years. I think I see decades. Zach. Yeah, I see Zach from time to time and Chuck. But Bryan and Dylan, it's been a little while.
It very much.
We're on opposite coast now.
Yeah. Yep. So, kind of little round circle here. Kind of introduce yourselves to everybody. You know, who are you? Where do you come from? And how did you get into arts? Bryan, can we start with you?
Sure. My name is Bryan Andrews. How did I get into arts?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I moved to, I'm originally from the Ozark Mountains, and I moved to Denver to go to college after high school. And I went to a couple of different schools while I was out there, for various things. The first time I actually went to school to make money, I thought that'd be cool. Industrial design. Then I decided I wanted to live the life of a vagabond, and so I went to a sculpture department. Decided I'd be poor the rest of my life, and that's where I met Chuck. And I was having a fit in a classroom because we were doing an installation, and they wouldn't let me take the ceiling tiles out. And I wanted to take them out and stick a tree trunk through the ceiling so it looked like it was growing out of the roof.
Right.
So the college came in and said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Why not?" I started acting like I was a 2-year-old, and Chuck comes walking down the hall, and he goes, "What is going on?" I said, "I'm trying to stick this tree through the roof, and they won't let me." And he goes, "Let's figure this out." And we've been best friends ever since. So, by the way, I got my little 3-year-old just woke up from a nap. Hi to everybody.
Oh, that's sweet.
Babies.
Hello,
Kelly.
Hi. Oh, she's so sweet.
Yeah, she just woke up. This is where my energy goes right now.
To the 3-year-old. Yes. Chuck, let me describe her. She is adorable.
You sure it's Bryan?
That's what he says.
But so I went through school there and met all you guys. Well, I actually went through school there, got my sculpture degree, and then I actually left for a few months. And Chuck called me up one day and offered me a job.
Oh, cool!
Assisting him teaching all you guys. So I came back, and that was probably a problem because we were only a few months apart in age. I think maybe a couple of years, but maybe. But we had a blast, I think, doing all kinds of stuff, ice carving and wood carving and welding, and it just caused some trouble having drive-up galleries and taking over parking lots with sculptures and making machines and blowing stuff up and burning stuff and cutting stuff down, doing the junkyards, and you name it, we did it. But it was a lot of fun. And then, I just continued to make art on my own. Never really did it for money. I know it sounds weird to say. I just enjoyed doing the gallery shows and making the art. But I felt it gave me a lot of freedom not having to worry about a paycheck attached to it. Mm-hmm. So I always had like a side job going on. That's why I taught and assisted Chuck and stuff like that. And then I got a job with a company, Moving Art, later on. Worked there for a long time. Ended up getting married and then moving to North Carolina. And then we moved back to Colorado years ago, stayed there for a few more years, and then came back to Asheville, North Carolina, and had this little girl, and we're here to stay now. And she occupies most of my time right at the moment. but starting to get back into moving material around and sorry, it was a little distracting. Move material around, doing some writing, but a lot of designing and sketching still, and getting the shop up and running again, dusting stuff off, and we're making stuff again here pretty soon. Can't keep it down all the time,
Right.
But
That's awesome. How about you, Zach?
Originally from Houston, Texas. Started out more of an illustrator and into films. One of my film heroes was Terry Gilliam, so I kind of was like, if I go the art route and then switch to film, it was kind of like my trajectory that I kind of wanted for myself originally. But so I ended up at RMCAD, and I immediately got a job working in the fine arts department underneath Bryan, and then Chuck slowly coerced me into the sculpture department by letting me know I could make art with power tools. And then it was all over. And so I started the sculpture path, which is hard and difficult life to choose. But so started that for a while, went through RMCAD, had a few shows. I started a group with some friends called the Motorman Project that Bryan was involved with as well, which was we used to build we do machine performance art. So we do giant robots and jet engines and stuff like that, and put on shows. And we're still a little active. Things are slow right now because of our current times.
The Rona.
Yeah.
The Rona.
Rona.
And yeah, and I got married a few years back to a RMCAD alumni as well, a painter. And I worked at the same art handling company that Bryan worked at for a while. I still do. So mostly now, instead of making art, I install other people's art. But yeah, I have a little side company. I'm really into pinball. So I started a little clothing company called Tilt Hammer, which is this guy.
Cool.
So I make patches, pens, and stuff. It's like a excuse it's like an artist outlet. Currently, I'm working on kind of getting back into illustration a little bit. I have some pinball machines that I want to retheme because in general, I would say pinball art is very sexist. And I want to I collect pinball machines and fix them up as well, but I want to retheme a couple of my pinball machines to be more inspiring to my daughter than what they are. So I'm gonna do kind of some rethemes on those. So that's my artistic outlet is pinball, occasionally some music stuff, some machine stuff, but yeah.
Cool. Hey, Dylan, back to you. I know it's kind of a rehash of the last interview we did, but
Yeah. I'm Dylan. Let's see. I'm trying not to repeat myself, but I'm just gonna. I guess I will. So I was originally from Illinois, but moved to Colorado when I was really young. So I pretty much am from Colorado, and Dan and I had gone to RMCAD, met at RMCAD together as illustrators, and smartly changed our majors once we had classes with Bryan and Chuck and Gary, and realized, what are we doing across the street? And so smartly we changed because it was a really extremely awesome creative outlet to be on the fine arts side of things. And so we made it through there, and like Zach, I always kind of had a film want and desire, and so after school and bumming around on couches and whatnot, moved to the East Coast to North Carolina, where I was working in live action film, doing, like models and graphics and stuff like that for a whole bunch of good and not so good television and film programs. And then my wife, kids, whole shebang. And then we moved to Oregon, and I live just outside of Portland in Hillsboro, and I work in stop motion, and currently am employed at Leica for the time being. And yeah, and I still do my own art. Like y'all, I don't sell my own art. I just do it. I make no money off my own stuff, but I make money making other people's art. So there you go.
Well, you did put out a book with your wife.
Yes.
That is correct. I did. My wife wrote a children's book, and I sculpturally illustrated it. It's called Skeleton, and it's about Halloween, which, as you can see from the costumes in the background, I like Halloween. Always have.
Is there a part 2 coming out soon, Dylan?
Coming out soon? No, there is a part 2. I can say it's about Thanksgiving. But has it been made yet? No. Am I going to be unemployed soon and have time? Maybe. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, man.
Didn't you start out on the other side of the street as well? And
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all 3 of you guys started out.
All 3 of us, yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of us did. I think we were all 3 illustration majors.
Yeah.
I was there for 2 years.
Well.
What's that?
Wanted to make money at one point as well and decided not to, right?
Yeah, we're like, fuck money. Oh, your daughter's not there, is she?
Who?
Your daughter?
No.
Okay. I was just like, oh, shoot, I better not, Anyway.
No, I told you that trash mouth, so it's okay.
Okay. So, Chuck, you kind of took us ruffians under your wing. I think 3 of us graduated around 2000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. I can't remember, Brian. You were somewhere in the mid 90s or something. I think.
97 I graduated.
97. Okay. And so you kind of, Chuck, you kind of inspired us to grab power tools and set fires. How do you feel about that?
I tell you guys are actually, of all the years that I've done teaching, my proudest pocket as a group, because every one of you have maintained your creativity and the authenticity of who you are that was established quite early on, including the personality traits, which at each one of your graduations brought a lot of interesting things. I actually remember some of the graduations, you guys would come and I would be at the podium giving a brief speech, and you would have numerals you would hold up on the back row ranking my speech, and the lower the numbers were. Typical things, but I actually feel immensely proud and pleased for every one of you. Again, there are many more people, but I think we're talking to a core group. My first impressions of each one of you were based on me being a teacher who was teaching from the basis of being a practicing artist, as opposed to a lot of art education today, I think is very credible, but it's taught from a very academic setting. You guys like to get your hands dirty. You like doing things. My first real vivid encounter with Dylan was when he dipped his whole body in blue paint. And I was worried I had to take him to the hospital because it was going to wouldn't be able, his body wouldn't be able to breathe. Bryan, I remember this long-haired guy stomping in, really ticked that he wanted to do this installation project, and when he said, I want to put a stump in the ceiling, it seemed totally logical. And I remember the school walking in later saying, what are you going to do? And the president of the school said, well, we just installed all these permanent benches in the lecture hall where this was being done. And I said, yeah, we can easily remove those in about an hour's time with my sculpture students. Zach, I remember being in a critique, and he had a mechanical machine of some sort that had a twirling blade. And the gentleman 2 stories below us teaching a humanities class, a lecture class, came running upstairs, Mark Johnson, and that's what the sound was, and the blade had come loose and embedded itself, swinging across the room into the wall. I remember Dan Crosier saying, I've got this project. I mean, I've got all these memories about all of you guys, and so many of your colleagues. Dan saying, I need either a 12 or 16-foot step ladder, a really big ladder for this project I'm doing. Okay, that's good. So we call it some kind of machine so I can qualify spending the money for a significant, nice ladder. I come in the next morning and it's completely covered in plaster. Every one of you were always pushing the limit, and for you to now have found your places in the world is one of the greatest rewards. And I absolutely cried after every graduation during that era for sadness that the time was gone and you guys were moving on. And when I say guys, there were strong women in the department too. I think it was a pretty balanced department. But I have to say, the college, I've been teaching at the University of Denver, University of Colorado in Denver, Metro occasionally, doing some part-time teaching. And when RMCAD brought me on and then brought me to build the sculpture department, they said, we want you to solicit students. We want you to go find students for your department. And what is your strategy? And so I said, let me teach a foundations class. And then I would just steal the students, mostly from the illustration department. And I was very proud of that. And they said, well, that's totally unethical. I said, no. This is where these people belong in a more creative setting, which didn't go over well, but that never stopped us.
No, that is exactly what you did. It was like a magic hold you had on us. Like after we had that foundational sculpture class, it was like, well, but I had more fun over there than I do over here.
Right.
And so why wouldn't I go back over there and have more fun instead of being in stuffy classroom drawing with a pencil when you could be chainsawing ice, which I still, to this day, anytime somebody talks about, we talk about college and what you did. And, I work with a whole bunch of artists that went to big universities and everything like that. Still, it's ice carving always blows everybody away. They're like, wait, you got to carve ice? Like, we've never. And I'm like, yeah, we had chainsaws and blocks of ice. Who, you didn't?
Do the math.
I thought that's what you did. Like,
everything was a creative celebration. I remember when we had a christening of finally a new ceramic building, and granted the school at the time didn't have the range of facilities that many state schools had, but it had a heart of creativity that if you needed something, you would make it. So about a block and a half from the sculpture department, when we had the christening of a new ceramics building, I remember, Brian, do you remember that we put a turkey in a kiln? And thinking that was totally logical. And it was only months later that I found out everyone had the stomach flu the following Monday. And given food poisoning to everybody there. We constantly had fun. Do you guys remember doing the mural on the parking lot to be seen from the 4th floor?
Yep.
Yeah,
That I don't remember.
I remember seeing that. I don't think we did
You guys remember. I have lots of memories.
that was pretty fun. Yeah, Zach, you were an illustration major, and you transitioned over to sculpting. How far into being an illustration major did you do that?
I think I made it like 1 year.
Oh wow!
I was on the fast track. I graduated in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was maybe 1, maybe 2 semesters. So I mean, I went all year round. So I went.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, I felt like my illustration style wasn't as good, and then like, I had a lot of. Even though I was in illustration, I kind of always felt like a fine artist.
Yeah.
Like I would draw like what I want, and like it's always hard for me. Like now I still can't do commissions. When people ask me to make something for them, it's so hard for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then just drawing is what I knew was where I came from, because it's the limited art classes we have in public schools, and then like. You don't know what sculpture is. You just in high school you get to like make a paper mache thing, and then they're like, that's sculpture, and you're like, that's kind of lame. But then you're like, and then you meet someone like Chuck who opens your eyes to like, sculpture is just like whatever it can be. You can make it with chainsaws or, chainsaws and grinders, or it could be like. You can make it by hand with the tiny saws or pencils or whatever. It can be whatever, and it's just I always had a kind of like a romantic view of art, where it was like money wasn't a driving force, and in fact, it always felt like if I had to do something for money that was artistic, like it's hard to do because there was so much passion I feel in making art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I agree with when it came to my personal art. Money was never the driving force, and maybe it should have been. I don't know. Maybe life would have been a little bit easier to pay the bills and stuff like that. But I didn't like it because I felt it was too limiting. It was. I didn't want to have to do the same thing 10 times if that was the case, or because that's what sold or something like that. I wanted complete and utter freedom to just, just be creative. And so, that's why I said earlier, I always had a side gig to pay the bills, and that way I could do whatever the heck I wanted with my art. And to this day, I still do it that way. And maybe that is a harder road to go down. I don't know, but it worked for me. I've had a pretty good and successful career, I feel, and I'm pretty proud of what I've done. So. And I've made it this far, still kicking.
That's cool. Yeah, Chuck, one memory that comes to mind about the early days, especially with me starting out in your class, was I think my first experience learning how to weld. We set my pants on fire. So I had Daisy Dukes for the rest of that day.
It was interesting. Wendell Berry, the essayist, talks about teaching by doing, by modeling the behavior, and to have all of you helping me. In fact, many of you were part of the Charles Parson erection crew, in which I didn't pay money.
Nope.
But what I did do was provide a realistic hands-on involvement, and the idea of can you weld, can you fasten things together, and you start to find what people's strengths were. Zach, what did you nickname the crew up in Casper, Wyoming?
The Vertigo All-Stars.
Vertigo All-Stars.
And it shows up in the newspaper the next morning. Charles Parson and his crew, the Vertigo All-Stars. and Jack says, I don't know, a couple things. He said, well, I didn't know it was the press. It was just this nice little old middle-aged lady. And I said, that is the press. I remember so many of you being so instrumental in helping me, and it was the confidence that I could rely on you, but you could rely on me, and part of it was the mindset that I continued no matter what the subject was that I taught. You invent solutions, and whether I was teaching at other schools, whether it's drawing or painting or murals or whatever, that you figure out solutions, including how do I make a living doing this? Because I have to admit, I wasn't interested in making students work with the art star sensibility. I was more interested in finding out who they were that was, again, authentic to who they could be, what their background was, what they loved doing. And that's why each one of you have gone in diverse ways. But I feel like whether you're using the degree in the discipline you studied, you're using the education. And that is what excites me to this day about art education, is that people learn to land on their feet in life and find a way of expressing themselves. All of you became quite articulate and impassioned in critiques. Even quiet Zach. Zach would suddenly come out of a shell when he was talking about his own work. I would love to sometime pull out some of the videotapes of those times, because I did document some of that.
That's true.
That killed the conversation.
We're just listening to your wise words, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in Walsenburg, Colorado, in a car in the sunshine. A person with common sense would at least drive to the shade.
That's right. That's not such a wise position to be in.
I was just trying to figure out if we could find a VCR to actually play those tapes.
Yeah,
Right.
really.
I've got one still.
Oh.
Well, to give your listeners and viewers, Dan, a sense of the celebratory nature of art. When we had the first christening on East Evans of the RMCAD Fine Arts Building, which I shared with esteemed colleague Clark Rickard, who ran the painting department, we were given a budget of $38 to decorate the whole building. Do you guys remember that?
I remember that.
And I mean, some of the things we did, but my favorite one was when we christened the new ceramics major, which at that point we had a kiln that was about the size of a crock pot. But one of you guys suggested we needed to have a vat of clay for mud wrestling. And all I know is...
I think that was a Bryan thing.
And we have built we've got music pulsating from a band upstairs, and we've got this vat of 2x4 on edge, probably 10 foot by 10 foot, with plastic on the floor, full of really syrupy mud. And I just remember everyone being excited as we had 2 female students who were going to mud wrestle, and Clark Rickard, who can be very verbose, but not quickly. He had and still has long, pregnant pauses. Well, he was going to narrate this from a lifeguard's chair that someone in the sculpture department had made for him to sit in. The 2 women did not wrestle much, and it was a little disappointing. And Bryan Andrews stepped into it, and I think you stripped your shirt off. All I know is you looked over at me, and with the dialogue of in front of an audience, it's like being a teacher or a student in a critique. You're on. And Bryan looks over at me and flips me off. And I look at him, and I take my glasses off, and my wife turns to my grown children and says, "Oh, God, here we go." Now, I think Bryan's going to do a little token, pick up some mud and throw it at me. He does a full body slam on me. Now, face down in the mud, other sculpture students are running over, jumping on top, and we proceeded to smear mud in a totally juvenile way. Prints,
your rear
on the walls. I mean, the next Monday morning, it looked like the most hellacious party, but it was a celebration of mud, of clay, of ceramics, and that was typical of that time. And I think there's a uniqueness that the sculpture department, the whole fine arts department, actually RMCAD in general had at that time, that every institution has eras, and that was a high point, I think, at the school. It was the makeup of the people, the makeup of the teachers being practicing working artists and designers, and in particular, the fact that we had to make our own facilities. Everything we did, every machine, every space, we made ourselves, and I think that was healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, see, this is the thing that sucked during my time at RMCAD was I took my summers off. These all sound like things you guys did in the summer there, and they're like, "We could do this. Dan's not here. Fuck that guy."
Dan's not here to ruin this.
Right. Right.
On a field trip.
Oh shit.
Running a photograph of Dan running downtown Des Moines, chasing a street person, and Dan is buck-ass naked, running right by a very large sculptural umbrella by Klaas Oldenburg. So it was obviously an art history thing. But,
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Those were good trips. The trips that we took to go to Las Vegas. Those were good trips.
Do you have any stories about Las Vegas so we can skip from Des Moines?
We lost Doug. Doug disappeared one night.
Tell them about that.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
We all kind of stuck together. I don't know what was there, like 12 or 13 of us. We all stuck together for the most part, just because it was a field trip technically. But we all went back to the hotel after dinner one night, and we had some beers or whatever. And Doug never came back. So the next morning we were all packing up, getting ready to go. I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're packing the van, and Doug still hadn't shown up. Ooh. And so we're getting ready to go, and he comes walking down the hallway because we were in the budget version of the regular casino, so we were out back, and there was no hallways. It was just doors open to the open air. And so Doug just comes strolling in with his sunglasses on, fully clothed and everything, and he's like, "Let's go." He knew we were leaving at like 8 o'clock, so he showed up by 8 o'clock. We've just been out, smoking cigars and having a good time, I guess. So, that was a fun trip.
Yeah.
And so then we left there and drove over to Moab.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear Chuck still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More on that trip. I think, Brian, you were the enforcer on that trip to make sure everyone was where they needed to be, sober or not. We had read Dave Hickey's book, Air Guitar, and Lauren Isley's book, The Immense Journey, and we were comparing nature to man-made impressions of it.
Yeah.
There was a premise to the field trip, but on the previous field trip to Des Moines, one student who was always late in classes, we had 44 people on that trip in 3 different vans, and the student hadn't even gotten out of bed when it was time to leave, so we left him. And somewhere around Salina, Kansas, this car comes by and he's leaning out the passenger side screaming, pull over, pull over. So in Las Vegas, people knew I would leave them because it wouldn't be anyone else being the disciplinarian I was. I'm in the 16-person van, and I think I'm the only sober one there, and it's because I don't drink. So I'm driving, and I'm doing the count-off. I have a list. Number 1, I don't know, Bryan Andrews. Number 2, I go down the list of names, and I get to number 9, and it's John Stiles. And John looks up, and he's wearing Elvis wraparound glasses with taped on sideburns, and his eyes are just squirrely, moving around. And when I get to Doug Trujillo, we can't find him. Again, he's lost again. And so I finally pulled the van over on the side of the road, and he's way in the back where we have all the coolers. And he slowly raises up behind the back seat, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and he said, I don't feel good, and I'm lying in something wet, and I don't know what it is. Let me back down. Those were fun times, but they were also very creative times because you bond. And again, that's what is unique about this particular time at Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. And in particular, I think in the sculpture department, there was a bond between everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like having brothers or sisters, and if someone starts to pick on them, everybody went to feel. So it was healthy.
Or we would just use one of Zach's machines against them.
Yeah. I think the thing, too, was that we never left.
Loving destruction. Oh my God. And he got into it where he finally, I thought he was going to write a report on 3 different ways to make Molotov cocktails. I think it was Brian's idea for the drive-up gallery where because we had drive-up bench, drive-up fast food, drive-up car washes, everything on East Evans was drive-up. We had 4 raunchy windows that we ended up rebuilding again, calling it an educational thing, and we made the drive-up gallery, which was done. And people would drive up. We had some of the female students for the sound sexes in skimpy shorts out front roller skating during rush hour with a sign, free hot dogs at the drive-up gallery. And I remember at one time we had almost 200 cars come through for the opening just to get free hot dogs in the 4th window. It was that inventive, creative spirit. And
that sounds very inventive.
I don't know if we can do that stuff nowadays, Chuck.
I've taught at many other schools, and I have to tell you, that was the school at that time that felt more like an art school than most art schools have become. It's just a different time. People are it's a different time, and I feel fortunate that all of us had opportunity to work together and grow together, and that was the excitement when Dan said that there was a small reunion occurring. I remember one student calling me 11:30 at night. He has to remain nameless, but he said he called me at home and he said, "You remember student fees?" I said, "Yeah, they're $250 a semester." He said, "Does that cover bail?"
Was this on one of the trips?
Oh, jeez.
To a certain degree, sculptors, regardless of how they discipline themselves, have a somewhat divergent nature, and even as they learn little by little to play into the system as they mature and get older, they still maintain part of that, and I think that is part of the enhancement of going to school at an art school, again, regardless of what you ultimately end up doing. I developed at an inner city community college a workshop on alternative modes of making income work for you as artists, as poets, as composers. And I think those things were embedded in all of you guys, because none of you from the descriptions seem to be starving. Zach, you did lose some weight, though.
How can you tell? You're not even on the video screen. He just sounds lighter.
I did research on every one of you.
That's called stalking, Chuck. Oh, man. One of the things that Dylan and I were talking about when I interviewed Dylan a few weeks ago was actually how big of an inspiration not only Chuck, you are in teaching us like materials integrity, but incidentally, Zach. Zach, you showed us the way to get into good trouble. And and I think like with Zach, I think you were a big influence on Dylan for doing stop motion and getting into that field. And incidentally, like, me helping out with you occasionally on your machines and some of the pyrotechnics and setting up for an event, storytelling and performing. Oh, yep. There's some photographic evidence being shared of us setting up a thing. It looks like something's firing out of Zach's ass, so that's very nice. That looks dangerous, buddy. Don't turn on the red light.
Back when I had hair.
A lot of it too.
Are you going bald too?
I'm all bald.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought I was the worst one. No, bullshit, Bryan. Dude, don't even. Yeah. I think you still have more than me.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But
it's not fair, Bryan. But anyway.
Come here.
But incidentally, I think Zach, you whether you know it or not, you kind of inspired and influenced Dylan and I to go into storytelling. I think by extension, whether I was doing OFM after I was helping out with some of the Moto Man stuff from time to time, and then from that I realized, oh, I can just go right back to doing comic books, which is another form of stage production and storytelling, and then film. All the same.
We just saw those people.
Oh, look!
We saw these people.
Oh, that's my kid.
Missing out on the cutest interview now. Zach and Bryan's little ones are making friends online.
Mm-hmm. They're already friends online a little bit.
That is a good
Oh, that's sweet.
That is a good point that you could bounce between all the different mediums and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it was the creativity that was what was important. It wasn't necessarily the medium, it was the creativity part. And
Yeah.
I mean, you've had your hand in everything. And, you know, from stage production to comics to sculpture to painting to everything. You know, a lot of us have, but I think you've like really gone out there and tried to hit everything.
I can't hear the sound.
It's impressive to do that.
I can't hear the sound.
It's in Papa's ears.
What's that?
She's talking about she can't hear the sound because I have it on my headphones.
Oh, I see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate it with you guys. I feel honored that I inspired somebody.
A lot of that too was the fact that we were all there till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and that was the night shift. Right,
yeah.
Zach, you ran the shop in the night shift, and so we all were, you know, we'd watch TV, we'd hang out, we'd order pizza, and we'd all work on shit. It was really like so open and so easy to access no matter what time, whenever you had, you know, time, it was there where you could go into that building and know that somebody was there to help you, and you could finish a project, you could work on what was in your brain.
Right.
And I think that is a thing that I really look back on a lot, was the time that we spent not in a structured class, because not that our classes were structured. It was, you know, pretty free up to the point, but it was the stuff we did after as a group, you know, with different people coming kind of in and out of our group, but we had kind of a core. We knew this person was always in, this person's always in, Josh is always in, Zach's always in, Jody's always in. But then there was, you know, people that would filter in and out. Jenny would come in and out, you know, and all that. And then I always thought it was great that, like, even after school, somebody was like, I have another project to do. And we would all kind of follow into that. I think of the one that I always talk about that I love was, Zach, you opened for the fire people in a gallery and we filmed it, but the guy that was doing the pig luau outfit, his rags were on fire so much that the building started like filling up with smoke. And I was up on a ladder filming it as you had done your robot battle right before, and we filmed that, and we stayed to film the fire juggling and the whole dance and the whole thing. And then, Brian, you were the only human being in this entire building to go, this is not safe. We all should leave. Like, wait, I had black streaming down my face from the soot that was, you know, like in my eyes and running down my face in tears. And I'm still up on this ladder like, oh no, I'm going to film. It's all right. I can't see anything, but we're good. And then you guys were like, but this was what we did. We all just helped out until we got smoke inhalation and had to leave. But I miss that stuff. Like,
that was the New Havoc Amateurs.
That would okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was that the Belmar show?
that was the first Moto Man show, but it wasn't Moto Man yet, right, Zach?
No, we pre-Moto Man, me, Joe, joined Eric, which is Chuck's nephew.
Yeah,
was the fire spinning crew. So Joe and I joined doing mechanical stuff from them. They had seen the Seamen at Burning Man and like came back and were like, we need robots.
We need robots.
And then
Dylan, I might be part of that video.
Yeah.
Ooh, really?
I've got some old footage of stuff that I've got some old stuff. I might have some of that. Yeah, it's total chaos. I mean, you can't tell what the heck's going on, but you see the lights and everything, and
that'd be great to see and you know, post, share, archive.
I've got a lot of old Moto Man stuff, but I don't know if I don't know if you guys want that stuff.
All of us just pull things from the past and take a look, because it's not just reminiscing; it's realizing this is who we are.
Yeah.
You know what Dylan was talking about there, where you have an idea, you're working, and 24 hours a day, it seemed like someone was always at the fine arts department when you were students. That permeates. I don't know which one of you was with me when I went to Chicago, but that same attitude in the world of sculpture, which is distinctively different from other disciplines in the world of art. Painters work in a very singular way. Quite often, draftsmen, illustrators working on their own, kind of in these nice little pockets. In the world of sculpture, you suddenly need physical help moving something, lifting something, or bouncing an idea off it. When I was in Chicago on one of those trips installing a large sculpture, I remember the crane had issues, and Mark DeSumero's crew came over, and Robert Stackhouse crew, and everyone is assisting, lifting something, and then they go back to being these world-famous artists. But everyone knowing you're all going to help one another when you need it. That was inherent in that building, and it was the students that brought that to bear, in my opinion, not the teachers, not the administration.
Yeah.
You folks found a really good core, a magnet, and that was the beauty of the building at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it was the collaboration between all of us, just being in that building together all the time, and you got to learn each other's strengths. And it was, even if it wasn't your strength, it was more or less just to help to be around each other all the time, which was invaluable to me. I mean, I still think about that to this day. It's, you know, there still has never been a time in my life where a core group of people have meant more to each other and helping each other out than that, you know, say 3-4 years, you know, that we were, because subsequently, you know, after when we all kind of moved in together, even we kind of tried to keep that, you know, keep a hold of everybody working and helping and everything.
Yeah, kind of be that support group, both physically and emotionally, because there's a lot of dramas going into there, a lot of transition in life, and you know, a lot of people bring that into the art and into the working. I think the other thing too is it was kind of nice to bleed every now and then, you know, for each other too. I know I usually got hurt whenever I was working on something with Zach. I just anticipated that. Dylan, you and I were talking about when we did a mold in my face when I tried growing a beard like Bryan, and wasn't as successful, but still it hurt. So
I think I still have a scar on my knee from when the conduit from Chuck's thing when we were in Wyoming, when the conduit that was holding up the banner flag fell down into my knee. I think I still have a little crescent scar on my knee from that one.
Oh, listen, we all have scars.
I know. There's battle
I'll
wounds.
gladly say for the audience of Dan's program here that I had an accident during a summer to fall break. I had an accident in the sculpture department that was pretty severe and ended up having metal plates put in my face. With pride, I can say the students had their own newspaper called The Fridge. As and you stick stuff with magnets on it. And I don't know whose idea it was, but they took a picture where they glued the magnets spelling the word refrigerator magnets stuck on my face and put me on the cover. And of all the press I've received, I do think that is one of my absolute favorites.
I remember that because that's about you were the first instructor that I had a class with. and about not not the exact same time, but about like same couple of weeks or months or so, I had a near-death experience and was a week late starting my first week in art school, and you were my first instructor, and I think that's the first thing that we connected on was you had a newly installed plate in your head, and I'd lost a week of my life. So.
And we both had memory losses, I'm told.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but yeah.
Chuck.
The idea of hands-on making.
Mm-hmm.
When you make artwork and you don't just design it on a computer and then enlarge it, you allow it to be organic and find a life of its own, and the materials speak. Well, the same with friendships. And the joy of teaching, there was also the heartache because I felt so personally involved with so many of the students.
Yeah.
And that's hard when a student has a real problem in life or a problem at school. And yet it wasn't parenting, but it was deep friendships. And
Sure.
Dan, you and I probably scared the hell out of a lot of people during that time. So how you doing? Good. I just almost died. Hallway discussions.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'd like to proudly say that was me that did that, because that newspaper was called The Starving Artist, and it was me and Joaquin Avina that put that out. And I proudly taped those magnets to your face.
Whoa.
I see. That's where the memory is a little. and that's not all from the head injury. That's probably age. So that's why I would love to do this again. I would love to be able to see where all of you are speaking from, but look at some of the images, and it's not just reliving the past, but it's the idea that it's so enriching looking at an awareness of a unique time. And it's like this COVID isolation time. I don't know about the rest of you, but it's been a really good reflective time for me to take a look at where are you going as opposed to where have you been. And to talk with you guys like this has been really good for me.
It's been good for us too, Chuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been good.
Especially since we're all in different locations. It's weird now that we're not like within driving distance from each other. It's plane rides and everything. And I mean, I haven't been back to Colorado in.
I wouldn't take a plane now.
No.
Maybe a drive.
It's nice to be able to get together, whether it's in person or not. Still, just to see each other is nice.
Yeah.
And not an Instagram photo or whatnot.
Something that's a little impersonal.
Yeah.
Something that's a little bit more intimate like this.
Actually, I would propose that I think the four of you could actually do a transcript of this and build on this a little bit and try to sell it to RMCAD as a lecture or even a small exhibit, whatever. But the idea that you don't really know where you're going. You may have an assigned discipline and focus at the time you're a young adult, but as life takes off, how can schooling help you to adapt and redirect when you need to?
Right.
And so I think there is something of tremendous merit from what each one of you have gone through, what you're currently doing, that could be put together and put a copyright on it and try to sell it to RMCAD. I guess they're doing pretty well, so why not?
Right. Well, and yeah, to that too, like for future conversations, I definitely would like to invite, like Jenny and Chandler and Jeff and Josh and Jody and, John Stiles. And of course, at some point too, it'd be fun to bring more of the Motoman guys in because they ended up being an integral part of some of our RMCAD experience. I know Joe was an instructor there for a bit. I'd love to get Gary and Martha too at some point.
Yeah, see, I'm going to see Gary in 2 more days.
Oh,
As he's driving from Seattle back to Kansas City, where he's based now. And I told him I was going to do this today when I was on the phone with him. And he has great memories of that, where, again, there's a working professional who was about 12 to 14 years older than you guys, maybe not even that much, where he would teach on Fridays after working in Disney Studios 4 days a week in Burbank.
I remember that.
And then he would go home to his Lookout Mountain home, work on a piece of sculpture on Sunday morning, and then fly back to California. That was the typical rhythm of what was occurring with all of us at the time. And you guys have maintained that kind of legacy. And I have no doubt, hearing little kids running around, your kids will be doing the same friggin' things. You're going to all be involved with whatever projects you're doing, but you're going to be doing it. And I like that.
Brian's daughter, I noticed, was hugging your sculpture in the back. So you might want to whip out her own chainsaw. Just saying.
Actually, I got her a present.
Oh. It better be a chainsaw.
If it's not a chainsaw, I'm hanging up.
Or is it a hatchet? That's cool too. Oh, it is a hatchet.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh, it's got a. Oh, that's so
one.
cute.
It's a baby one.
Oh man.
It's a baby hatchet.
This is my daughter's first sculpture I help her make.
Oh, that's cool. What's that made out of? Is that
It's just like pieces of wood.
Oh, okay, cool.
Nice.
It looks like a little
Just
figure
came
for
back
the top of an arcade machine or a pinball.
Yeah, it's I have a picture from one of my friends, Lindsay. He had a silkscreen poster of Hulk Vader. So it's Hulk Hogan with a Vader helmet, or not Hulk Hogan, but Hulk, the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
My daughter's like, I want to make that monster. So we made that monster.
Nice.
What's that, Dylan?
Oh, I was saying that my oldest just came back from.
Just a second, Chuck.
Collection, right?
Chuck, just a second. Dylan was talking.
Oh, she just came back from selling. She sells jewelry at the farmers market down the road, and so that's what she's.
Oh, cool.
She
Nice.
makes artwork. Sellable artwork, I should say, not like what.
She's probably making more money than us, right, Dylan?
Right.
Yes, she does.
She can support you, Dylan.
Yeah, she better know that.
How's the daughter?
She's 8. Yeah, I have 2. I have an 18-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Wow.
And this came up last time where Dan and I, Chuck, I don't know if you remember this, but one of you and I's first interactions was me stopping you in the hallway and commenting on the extreme hotness of your daughter, and you looking me dead in the eye and saying, "Don't ever tell a father his daughter is attractive or hot." And
Let me fill this in further. My daughter had just graduated from high school, so we used her middle name and signed her up so that it was Celia Aaron, not Celia Parson.
yeah,
And she's like the second day of class. "You're the one, Dylan." Of course. Now it makes sense. And he walks up and said, "Hey, who's the really foxy young lady in there with a nice ass?" And I mean, what do you say? We finally had to show everyone that it was my daughter, because we would arrive at school, I think it was an afternoon class, and I had just showered and she had just showered, and we would arrive together in the same vehicle, and we had a few students thinking, something going on. My other son, Colin, took a class with me, and I forget the student's name, who came up to me after the 3D class and said, "Who's the goofy, gawky guy that laughs at all your jokes?" So I walked over and just pulled my son Colin's hair back where you could see his high forehead and against him, and they went, "Oh my God, it's your son." So yeah, it was always a joy bringing my kids down to school.
Chuck, no, I think the correct way that I addressed your son was, "Wow, he's got amazing ass." You can tell Colin I said that too.
Yeah. Now, Dan, were you the one that wore a cap and gown where the cap had a duct tape name on top or something?
No, that was me.
That was Dylan. I had prosthetic tits.
Jenny and I were thing 1 and thing 2.
Dylan, were you the one filming the graduation as you walked up?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was me.
And I had been told that someone would be filming, and that's when I had the Polaroid camera. And so somewhere in all those photos is a picture of you walking up the steps at the Temple Event Center to get your diploma, and I'm taking a picture of you.
Yeah, it was meta. You were taking a picture of me, taking a picture of you, taking a picture of the event. It was look at how artsy we are.
We're fucking creative.
We were meta before they used the term.
We were, we meta. Oh.
That was something for the later generation to make their own. It's totally Deadpool.
We should have copyrighted it.
Yeah, what the hell were we thinking? Well, guys, I think we're running out of time. Wanted to kind of go around the room, see what you guys are doing and working on these days. I know some things have slowed up and some things have sped up. It looks like Dylan's running to go grab something. Oh,
more drinks.
He's working on drinks. That's good.
On hydration.
Hey, I have something to show real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
You can't. This one's
Oh, hey!
Hi.
Thank you, baby.
Is that daughter number 2?
That's number 2. That's Bailey.
That's Bailey. Hi, Bailey. Yeah. Chuck, what are you working on these days? You're always busy.
I've just finished a mural with a place to put it, but that doesn't matter. On 4x8 panels, so it's about 16 feet wide. I've worked on several large garden sculptures, but most interestingly, the art retreat our family has built in southern Colorado on 35, I won't say remote, but rural areas. That's where I'm going to tonight. I've got over 55 sculptures up, some of them 60 and 70 feet long, that have been displayed throughout the United States. And if they haven't sold, I put them up down there.
Free range.
And they have triggered an awareness of when you look at the place that actually inspires you to work, and you end up putting the actual sculptural work on that site after it's been displayed somewhere, that has triggered my next project, which is going back to my drawing roots and taking, starting September 15th, taking 2-day to 3-day car trips, totally isolated from the rest of humanity, on the southeastern high plains of Colorado, doing site observation sketching that then on-site evolve into abstract works, and journaling, writing some of my thoughts and reflections of the places and the poetics of them, looking to develop some books, which is a very different audience than large-scale sculpture.
Yeah,
all the shows
people that are literate
got canceled, and I've come to look at that. Okay, this is a good time to reevaluate who looks at my work and how do I want them to look at it. And books are really intriguing me right now.
That's cool. Hey, Zach, for Tilt Hammer, where can people go find what you do and some of the merchandise and stuff, and how can they support you?
It's tilt-hammer.com. It's just like it's just a little web store. Mostly through Instagram. You can find me at tilt_hammer. That's where most of my marketing goes. Yeah.
What about Moto Man Project? Because you're kind of off and on working on that.
Yeah, Moto Man Project. You can find us on Facebook at Moto Man Project, or on Instagram as well. Yeah, we don't really have a website presence, just social media on that.
Okay. Bryan, what are you working on these days? I know you're doing a lot of drawing.
Yeah, I mean, as far as actual production, most of my effort goes into the 3-year-old right now, making sure she's got a good start and
Hatchet.
And a hatchet. So off to a really good start, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's where most of my energy goes right now. But I'm still keeping up with my writing and my sketchbooks and stuff like that. And I just cracked open a new one this week, so I'm still keeping up with things. And she's getting a little more mobile, as you guys saw through this interview. So I'm pretty hopeful that I'll be able to start making some stuff again, and I won't have to worry about her sticking her finger in a saw blade or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But it's all working out just good.
Good.
I mean, I've been spending the time with her. This pandemic thing is a horrible thing, but I've been very fortunate, and most parents can't say this. I think Zach might be able to say this, but I've been able to spend her really young formative years.
Yeah.
I've been able to spend some very quality time with her these past 5 months.
Yeah.
And, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to do that, because not everybody can say that.
No.
And it's been very exciting to me. I think we've bonded very well. And I think I've got a future artist in my family, because she's getting real good at 8x numbers.
Nice. I can't do those.
I can't either. I'm like, don't tell me what to do.
I want that one to be purple.
Yeah.
Purple, not blue.
Yeah.
Why should the sky be purple?
Dylan, I know you're for the time being, you're still at Leica Studios, and you worked on Missing Link and stuff, but you still got your own projects in the works, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had the kids book that will someday I'll do the sequel to.
Part two.
Right now, I'm in the middle of Halloween costumes, even though we probably won't have a Halloween or anything. I mean, I may make the kids come to the door every 3 minutes and give them a different thing of candy. I don't know. I've got, little projects here and there that I work on, but for the most part, it's go to work, make other people's art, come home, make my art, and, hopefully it all works out. Job hunting now.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully, open the door to working with Guillermo.
There we go. That would be lovely.
That'd be great.
That'd be cool. We'll all watch it remotely at the same drive-in.
Yes. Yeah, because God knows.
Get on this.
4 years ago.
We'll
Right.
get on, watch it together and eat popcorn.
Yeah, I'll just bring my laptop and just broadcast it for you guys. The new piracy. StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yay. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming on. Go ahead and stay on till after I end the broadcast. But it's been such a pleasure to see your beautiful, youthful, smiling faces again, and to be able to chat with you and to hear Chuck's heavenly voice over cellular technology. You guys, thanks again. Bryan, Dylan, Zach, Chuck, it's been a pleasure. And to everybody watching out there, be good, be kind to each other, stay safe.
Mask. Wear a mask.